This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or mental health advice. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast and are not intended to malign any religion, group, club, organization, business, individual, anyone, or anything. I'm Sarah Edmondson.
And I'm Anthony Nippy Ames. And this is
A Little Bit Culty.
Cults are commonplace now. From fandoms to fads, we're examining them all. We look at what happens when things that seem like a great thing at first go bad.
Every week, we chat with survivors, experts, and whistleblowers for real culty stories told directly by the people who lived through them, because we want you to learn a few things that we've had to learn the hard way.
For example, if you think you're too smart to get sucked into something culty, you might be prime recruitment material, and who knows, you could already be in a cult. If you're not aware of your programming, you're probably being programmed, so keep listening to find out.
We'll talk about all sorts of topics on the show, but be aware, this podcast might contain stories that could be alarming to some of our listeners, so please check our show notes for more detailed descriptions and take care of yourself.
Subscribe to our Patreon for Thursday bonus episodes, Q&A, and all sorts of exclusive content. That's patreon.com/alittlebitculty.
Welcome to Season 7 of A Little Bit Culty.
Sinking down to the depths of the ocean, hanging on to my love.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of A Little Bit Culty.
If you follow Canadian politics at all, you've probably heard about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's resignation. He was the leader of the Liberal Party, which is actually considered centrist in Canada, and he stepped down this past March.
Economically, our neighbors to the north, hi Canada, has been dealing with a lot of the same issues that we have here in America, like rising consumer costs and a housing crisis. Housing crisis, if you're in Canada. I wonder how much the eggs are costing there now.
The thing is, the controversy surrounding Trudeau runs deeper than economics. He and the Liberal Party have been accused of gaslighting and manipulating their own members. Publicly, they promote diversity and inclusion, while quietly tokenizing women and members of color. Party members who speak out have been sidelined or met with hostility.
Our guest today has first-hand experience with this. Celina Caesar-Chavannes is a former member of Canada's Parliament who served as Trudeau's parliamentary secretary. She actually left the Liberal Party in 2019 and has been a vocal critic of the Trudeau administration. And she also paid the price for it.
Celina's here to tell us how she was minimized and isolated for dissenting within her party. We'll get into the difference between public image versus internal reality in Parliament and how diversity is often leveraged just for the optics.
Also, we're going to talk about how charisma and niceness in a political leader could potentially mask narcissistic shadiness.
When it comes to political ideology, we're not taking sides here, everyone. We are simply highlighting the process of coercion. What Celina experienced is abuse in any context, and it happens in all parties. It ought to come as no surprise that politics on both sides of the aisle can be insular, manipulative, and straight-up culty. Let's welcome Celina to the show.
Thank you so much for your time, Celina. I'm sure doing cult podcasts is not your normal routine.
Not my normal Tuesday, no. Or Monday.
Well, we can explain why. And Nippy was the one who found you, so I'll let Nippy.
Yeah, so as I was saying, one of our biggest achievements, we've been called Trumpers and Libtards, all in the same, almost the same episode probably. And the thing that we've noticed since we've left our cults dynamic is that the abuses of power that go on in cults aren't proprietary to cults. They go on in a lot of other domains, and putting language to it and calling it out is one of the things that was really why we're doing this. So when I heard your story, I was like, oh my God, politics has been something we've traditionally stayed away from. So the content points to us aren't that important. Just the process of getting people to be obedient to certain things and the abuses of power and the tactics are all very similar. And this is kind of our first foray into that a little bit, but
we're just expanding our lane.
Yeah.
You picked a doozy first one.
Yeah. Well, I'll get into the why later on. I have an anecdote that when I heard something on it, well, I could probably tell.
Well, I'm just curious. How much of our story do you know, or are you like kind of going in blind?
I'm going in blind right now, which
Even
makes
better.
me feel
Okay,
like I
great.
should have done the research.
Well,
okay.
I'll just tell you super, super quick. We were in a group that was a personal and professional development program based in the U.S. I'm Canadian. Nippy's American. We met there. We got out of this group when we realized that it was a cult, like 100% a cult, behind closed doors, behind the sort of structure of the personal and professional development side of things. And we were whistleblowers, and that was documented in a documentary that came out during COVID. And now we have a podcast about cults looking at abuses of power in different settings. So that's why you're here.
Hence
So-
the title, A Little Bit Culty.
A little
'cause-
bit culty.
yeah.
Okay.
So we look at like actual real cults and things that have culty dynamics. Obviously, the government isn't, well, some might say it is, but we don't think necessarily the government is a cult, but there were tactics in it that were problematic,
Yeah,
regardless of the party, or left or right.
absolutely.
Right. And when we've been through what we've been through, we have a little bit of wisdom.
Yeah.
And that wisdom seems to come out when we see the same tactics and we go, we think that needs to be addressed.
So that's where we're coming from with your story, is like when we heard some of the things that happened, we thought that's an interesting sort of entry point to expand that conversation.
Yeah. When you talk about being whipped, I think there's a lot of culty things in that, right?
Yeah. And also, full disclaimer, like I said, I'm Canadian. I'm really not that well versed in politics.
Either is anybody else.
Right.
Yeah. Even if they think they are. Right.
Even if they think I've been in it, I'm not that well
Yeah.
versed either. So there you go.
Well, it was also perfect for me because I was in New York. She was in Vancouver. So we lived in Canada for 10 years. Both our sons were born in Vancouver, and we now live in Atlanta, where I'm originally from. And so it's kind of interesting to me because I've always been peripheral to Canadian politics, not really that into it. In fact, when I was living in Canada, more people knew about U.S. politics than they did about their own, which I thought was really interesting. So just to hear your story and hear all the abuses that went on were interesting to me.
Should we get into it? Yeah. Why'd you get into politics? How would we start there?
So actually, what I signed up for was I was running Canada's first, or co-chairing Canada's first national epidemiology study on neurological conditions, which your listeners are like, what? Wait, why? Yeah, I was actually a researcher looking at the brain, which I love, and figuring out that people were having such challenges in Canada, moving from province to province, or it would be like moving from state to state to cover their medications, or having to get divorced if they made just a little bit above the threshold for their services to be covered for someone who was living with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or epilepsy. And I thought, that's crazy. And so I wanted to get in so that we could really influence the policy that helped people living with neurological conditions and their caregivers. And I thought having a national brain strategy could do that. So I went in there with like this real passion around caregivers who are mainly women and neurological conditions that are so debilitating to so many Canadians.
Which is really a wonderful idea to have. And just for our American counterpart, right? Great idea. I love it.
Great idea.
Our American counterparts who don't understand our system, Celina, or my former system, I should say.
Yeah, well, and I think that's an important nuance because they think, everything's covered, free healthcare, free everything. And that's not necessarily the case. You're supposed to have timely, quality access to healthcare. But oftentimes what happens is under drug formularies, there are some drugs that are covered here in Ontario that may not be covered in BC. And getting those services across the country are not exactly universal across the country. So you'll have to move, or you'll have to, like I said, some people divorce their partners just so that they could have their drugs or their services covered. And so there are some nuances.
Right, because the income affects what they have access to, right?
Exactly.
Like if you make above a certain amount, you're not even allowed to have access because you should be able to pay for it yourself.
No, and if you get a job, they'll claw it back. So they'll claw back the money that you get from government in terms of those services. So you're kind of stuck.
Wow.
So even that's an episode. Even that problem is a whole, so you had a very, very strong vision of what could be done. And you went in there with would you be fair to say like an idealism of what you wanted?
No. It wasn't idealism at all.
No?
It was backed by, I'm a researcher. So we had done this study, this national epidemiology studies. It was invested by the previous government that people were saying, oh, the Harper government, a conservative government, was not investing in research, not investing in science. We got $15 million because we advocated really well. So $15 million from a previous government. I go into government with the new government and say, leverage the 15 million. We have all this evidence. We wrote a report called Mapping Connections, gives you all the evidence of what needs to happen. Leverage that and do something next. It wasn't an idea. It was an ideology. It was actually evidence-based and said, here, Mr. Prime Minister, you could take this and run with it and do something for Canadians.
So you're solving a problem.
Oh, hell
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
And let me correct myself. I don't mean idealism like pie in the sky. I mean, you came in there with an optimism and an idea that it could be done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, 100%. And you would be crazy not to do it.
absolutely.
The investment, and let me just give a little bit more context and then we'll go into it. But the investment in brain research, and I'm doing my PhD in neuroscience right now. The investment in brain research is a 4-to-1. You put $1 into brain research and you could reduce healthcare costs. You could have extension of life. You could have better quality of life. That's what we're talking about. So there's a 4-to-1 return. So it's not just, this is going to be a great thing to do. It actually is a really darn good thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So based on the merit of that, you
Yes.
ran
Yeah.
or were tapped to
Oh,
run?
no.
Or
How does
what
that
was
work?
No. I was not tapped to run. And in fact, I ran in a Whitby, where I live. It's a very conservative riding. It's like a Republican riding, very much so. The member of parliament who was sitting at the time was our Minister of Finance, Jim Flaherty. So at the federal level, you have a conservative Minister of Finance who's run this area. And then at the provincial level, the MPP, the member of provincial parliament, is his wife, who is also conservative. So this whole area is just totally conservative. So I think I'm running. I say, you know what, I'm going to run because I have this problem. Canadians have this problem. So I say, you know what, I'm going to run. I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to gain some political capital and then give someone this mapping connections and say, please, like, help people who need help. It just so happens that as I put my name forward, the member of parliament, he resigned and then he passed away. And then I was in this election, a by-election, which I lost, but I hate to lose. So I ran in the general election and then I won the general election. But it was all based on this idea that I just wanted to get the political capital to get this policy across. And in fact, the Liberals that I was running with called me the lamb to the slaughter. They were like, there's no way this Black woman who nobody's ever heard of ever is going to win a federal election. She's never been in politics before. She might not even know how to spell politics, but she's here. And I was actually called the lamb to the slaughter.
So then you get elected.
Yeah.
And what was the process of going up the ladder, I guess, so to speak?
Well, I didn't have to do very much because as soon as I got elected in October of 2015, I was appointed by the Prime Minister, our former Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, as his parliamentary secretary. So a parliamentary secretary is like your tag team partner. He goes left, you go right, he goes north, you go south. Like it's just a tag team. So I am the Prime Minister's tag team person as his
So not a
parliamentary
secretary for us for the Americans here. Not a secretary.
No.
That's not the right word, really.
Please don't call me the secretary of the Prime Minister.
Would that be equivalent to, say, a cabinet member?
It's not cabinet. So even the ministers have their parliamentary secretary as well.
I see.
So it's the same kind of tag team. Minister of Finance has one, everybody else. I just happen to be like the top dog of the parliamentary secretary. So I'm assigned to the Prime Minister as his like tag team person. In theory.
So it's not a secretary.
No.
It's not an assistant.
No.
It is an extension, supposed to be an extension of
the Prime Minister. Yes. So we spread the word. So he's doing policy around X, and Celina, you make sure that in the West they know about the policy, and I'll go East. Now I'm going to go South, you go North, and we'll talk about blah, blah, blah. And we're going to get people to understand our policy and blah, blah, blah. In theory.
So and again, forgive my ignorance, but for you to get to that position, you said he appointed you. Had he met you?
Yes.
Had he spoken to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did that happen?
So during the by-elections, of course, the member of provincial parliament dies. We have by-elections across the country. The Liberals are starting to build up this momentum in advance of the general election in 2015. So 2014, this is like prime opportunity, even though we have a lamb to the slaughter, but it is a prime opportunity for the prime minister to be in Whitby, where I live and where I'm running, and to show face. So he's here 4 times. He comes, he meets, he's doing the meet and greet. And I mean, I'm personable. So, and motivated by winning now because I have an opportunity to do so. So he's here 4 times during the by-election, and we lose the by-election. The only by-election that was lost during that 2014 period was mine. And so it was, it allowed for him to meet me and do those kinds of things, but then have that opportunity in 2015 to say, holy crap, I can't believe you did that. Let's go. Here we are in 2015.
What was your impression of him when you first met?
I was just really, first of all, you have to understand, I am not into politics at all. The first foray is Googling after I write this report, how do I become a member of a political party so I could get political capital real fast?
Right.
Like, I'm not, really into it or anything. And so I'm just excited by all the buzz, like the Trudeau mania that's coming in 2014, 2015. I'm excited by it. I'm thinking this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Now we could leverage this mapping connections and make it like really big. So I'm not really thinking about him necessarily. Yes, he's like the guy with the great hair and, he's really good looking and blah, blah, blah. Not my thing. I'm more thinking of, I have a mission here. And my mission is to do X.
Got it.
And I want to execute that mission. And this guy who's really popular and is doing really well, seems like if we win and we get a majority, this is a no-brainer. This could get done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my only idea. The only idea that I really had about him, though, I have to admit, was like when I'm fundraising, because at that point, because the Conservatives have been in power for so long, the Liberals had no money in Whitby. So I'm trying to raise money and saying, support me. And we go to my best friend's house. And I'm like, okay, yeah, easy. We're going to get the top amount, $1,500, no big deal. And he says, absolutely not. I love you, Celina, but I cannot give my money to Justin Trudeau. And I'm like, huh?
Interesting.
And that was kind of the first foray into, am I being and I didn't really think about it at the time, but I thought about it every moment after. If somebody else sees it, what am I missing? Am I being duped? And I didn't see it.
So what did your best friend see that you didn't at the time, looking back?
Just lack of transparency, just not leadership material. And I just kept thinking, no, he's good. Don't worry. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
This might be the opportunity for me to drop my anecdote. I think I heard you on a podcast, and you may have even mentioned it in your book, where you talked about where he was asked point blank in 2015 about having women on his staff.
50-50 cabinet, right?
Yeah.
It was the question he was asked. I was watching this in Canada, and I don't really even watch television that much. I was kind of watching it, and our son at the time is 1. Sarah's there, and he goes, because it's 2015. Why? And I look at Sarah, and I go, did he just say that? He was just asked. For me, as a politician, I wouldn't be a politician, but if someone asked me why I have a 50-50 cabinet of women.
And it's not just women, it's minorities too, right? Or was the...
It was specifically about women, what I remember.
It was specifically about women in that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a lob question for a politician. Even if he's inauthentically supporting it, even if he's authentically supporting it, it's an easy question to answer for platitudes, even if you're just... And I remember thinking, because it's 2015, I go, that's your answer?
That's your answer. This is the one
That's your answer?
For.
This is yes, exactly. And I thought one of two things. Either he's not good at this prime minister thing yet, or ever, or he's inauthentically leading something that he doesn't really understand, and he's a figurehead. So I don't know if you know that this is why
I'll take number 2. I'll take door number 2. Bill.
So this is when I'm I'm laughing with Sarah, and this became a joke around our house for a little bit. I go, because it's 2015, and she's
He said it so many times, Celina.
It
It was his answer for everything.
She'd be like, Nippy, can you grab me the water? And I'd be like, no, because it's 2015. Like, it was like my joke of like, for like a while. Like, and when you said it and when you pointed it out, I go, Sarah, I feel so vindicated by this woman. She saw what I saw. And it was the funniest thing. And again, my knowledge with Canadian politics is cursory at best. But when I saw that, I just thought, this guy is going out there and saying that, and he's getting away with it.
Yeah, they are the right people for the job. They were the smartest. They were the, the most qualified. Like, he could have said any amount.
He could have said anything.
Anything at that point. And so my response to both of those were a couple of things happened after. So not only did he said it, this is 2015, he also said, and this cabinet is the face of Canada. And I'm looking going, isn't that interesting? Because there's not one Black person in that whole cabinet at that point.
Ah.
And so, yeah. And so I was public about that in 2015, which not maybe the best thing for someone who wants to like last 4 years to do. But I was like, dude, no, not at all. Maybe I did say it while I was appointed. But during our first meeting, he said to me, Celina, do you trust my judgment? I was like, dude, I met you 4 times, like in a year. I've been married to my partner for like at least 17 years. I hardly trust his judgment most days. What makes you think I'm going to trust you? Like, I don't. No, I don't trust your judgment. Like, I can't. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. I didn't find out till right at the end that he asked everybody that question. And then I said to him, if you are picking me to be your parliamentary secretary to fill any racial or gender gaps that you have in your cabinet, I don't want the job. I'm perfectly happy being the member of parliament for Whitby. I do not need to be a token in this administration. In theory.
This is what Sarah and I have been kicking around for 24 to 48 hours. If the second assessment of him, he's inauthentically leading a movement that he doesn't believe in, and you come in and you're authentic,
oh man,
you're a liability to him.
I'm a liability.
Think
bro.
about it. Well, really think about it, because
yeah,
if you come in and you're honest,
I lived it.
Yeah. Well, I just thought, like, if I'm leading this and I have plans for you,
to put you out as to make sure that everyone knows that I'm so progressive.
I have plans for you.
Yeah,
I have plans. Big plans.
Yeah. And then he recognizes you're not going to be obedient to it. He's going to put you out of the inner circle. Because that's what happened to me with my situation. Yeah.
Were you the fly on the wall? Was it you the whole time?
Well, I know even the question of, do you trust my judgment? To me, it was a red flag. I don't know if you saw it at the time. I just think you were honest. Yeah, you were honest.
I didn't see it as a red flag only because I didn't see my response as a red flag or his question, because I thought as his parliamentary secretary, not in theory, but in principle and in praxis, I thought he was saying, I want to know if I could trust you. Because if you just answer this and say, oh, yeah, then you're not the person I want to be. I thought he was like, okay, you pick me because I'm straight talker, I'm straight shooter, I like draw from the hip. You know this. So I'm going to say, yeah, hell no, brother, I don't trust your judgment. Like, we'll earn this as we go along. But
yeah, and if it's an authentic movement and you say that to me, I go, this woman needs to be by me all the time. Because she's going to tell me the truth. I'm going
to tell you the straight goods.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing, what people are saying. Yeah. And he actually said, why don't you trust my judgment? I said, because I'm hearing from other members of our caucus that you have put all of your friends in cabinet. Do the homework. Navdeep Bains, like all these guys, inner circle, friends from long time. This is nepotism at its best, right? Yeah. So again, the math starts mathing because it's like, oh, it's because it's 2015. Well, you can't say, oh, they're there because they're my best friend, or they're there because I've done this is the best resume for this portfolio and that. No, it just has to be because it's 2015, because you actually don't have an answer to any of these people, or most of them anyway.
Or the honest answer he can't give.
Well, because of my friends.
Yeah, because my friends, and I promised them to him because there's money in it.
Celina's a loudmouth. I don't like her.
We play squash together.
So here we are.
So that was the first red flag.
Yeah, you don't trust his judgment. Let's go from there.
because I want you to stay in the role to do your thing, I want you to say, I'm here. Obviously, there's a certain level of trust, but we got to earn it. Like, I want you to say something different so that you can stay and help him. Not that we can turn back time, but this is what I want for you.
I don't know if I was cut out for that, though. I don't know if I'm really cut out to be the person that acquiesces because there is some kind of other agenda. And that's the part that was killing me, because for the first couple of years, I was kind of like, okay, Celina, try to play nice in the sandbox, like be quiet. Don't like do that. Like, don't be yourself. And I kept saying, this job is killing me. Like, I'd come home and I'll tell my partner, I'm like, something's killing, like I feel it. Like it's taking my life. It was so bizarre.
That moment
But what
happened
she
right at
just
the beginning.
said,
Yeah.
it's very important because a lot of people in these situations feel that negative force, but they don't.
They don't address it.
Well, it's also hard to put language to because there's other things that are going on. And don't let me put words in your mouth, but I imagine you're going through like, hey, this is a positive thing in theory. I have these principles and this is how it's supposed to come. And I'm feeling these negative things, but there's this groundswell of positivity where I might get these things put through and achieve some positive things in the world. But this is other thing that my body's telling me this isn't the right way. And that reconciliation.
Yes. This is why I'm doing my PhD in neuroscience right now, right? To actually understand like what happened in my brain during those 4 years. And so this exactly what you're talking about. This is an example of like cognitive dissonance where you're contextually encoding the experiences of those dissidents within your body. And your body is saying, red flag, red flag, red flag. And you're going, but no, man, this is so great. I'm the parliamentary secretary and we're going to get a national brain strategy that nobody's looked at yet, but it'll be fine. Don't worry. And you're like, you're making this stuff up and your body is saying, sis, I mean, really? Do you not hear me like screaming at you? This is why you feel like something is killing you and it's living in you. And we often downplay that because everything else in our society says, oh, just be grateful. Are you not grateful that you're here? Like you are the only Black woman elected out of 338 members of parliament, and he picked you to be his parliamentary secretary. Be grateful. Be great. Do not think that what killing you? Oh my God, lady. But then your body is saying, this is going to kill you if you do not.
Yeah.
And you may have other feelings too. You may have other things. And that's like a self-affirmation strategy. So anytime you're like in your mind going, okay, it's okay. This will be fine. This is fine. This will be fine. It's a self-affirmation strategy that reduces the dissonance so that you could survive in the space. That's it.
Celina, what you just described, by the way, is what happened for us in the cult. The same thing. Like we saw so many red flags, but we were...
You gaslight yourself.
You tend to gaslight yourself.
You gaslight yourself. You self-stigmatize.
This podcast wouldn't exist without our fantastic, supportive, generous patrons. Come find us over on Patreon. We're at patreon.com/alittlebitculty. Go there for bonus episodes, exclusive content, and the occasional Zoom with our fan favorites from our past episodes. Subscribe now and join us. That's patreon.com/alittlebitculty. And now, a brief message from our Little Bit Culty sponsors. Remember, when you support our sponsors, you support our podcast. Fun fact about me is that I like to escape into games. It's one of my little guilty pleasures. And yes, Sarah does not like it. She tries to correct me, but I press on. That's why I like our new sponsor, Cookie Jam. You know, after a long day of unpacking cult dynamics, gaslighting, and a lot of nonsense, sometimes I just need to decompress. And lately, Cookie Jam has been my go-to brain break. It's a super fun match 3 game with thousands of puzzles, which is my jam, where you match cakes, cookies, and candy. And it's got all these little awesome features, explosive cookie matches, powerful boosters, daily rewards, and a ton of different themes you can switch to depending on your mood. Whether I'm multitasking during a late-night TV binge or avoiding one of those awkward we need to talk texts, Cookie Jam gives me a little escape. Something light, playful, and actually relaxing. Plus, I'm not alone. Over 100 million people are playing, so clearly I'm in good company. For me, it's the perfect way to wind down after a day of thinking too hard about the dark side of human behavior. It's colorful, it's satisfying, and the pandas are kind of cool. Match cakes, cookies, and candy. Thousands of puzzles, free daily rewards, and adorable pandas. What are you waiting for? Download Cookie Jam now.
All right, my friends, cannot wait to tell you about our latest sponsor, Superpower. Nippy and I spend so much time and money on lab tests over the years. I don't know if you know this about us, but we are kind of obsessed with figuring out what's going on with us and how to be the most healthy. And let's be honest, when you get a call from your doctor or your naturopath or functional medicine person, whoever, and they're like, everything looks fine. But then you're like, wait, cool, but what about my hormones and my inflammation and my nutrients? So this is why Superpower is different. This is a next level proactive health membership that gives you real insight into what's going on inside your body, your heart, your liver, your thyroid, your metabolism, your hormones, your vitamin, your mineral levels, you name it. Over 100 biomarkers. You do the labs twice a year, either at a local clinic or they literally send someone to your house, and then you get a clear, personalized action plan laid out in their app. It's kind of like what pro athletes get, but at a price that makes sense. We're just getting started with this, and honestly, we love that it's all about long-term tracking and actually knowing what's going on inside your body instead of just guessing. So, for a limited time, our listeners are getting $50 off an annual Superpower membership by using the code CULTY at checkout. Just head to superpower.com and use code CULTY to get your exclusive discount. Your biology decoded, your blueprint activated with Superpower. And after you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show and tell them our show sent you. All right, everybody, let's stay healthy together. You've heard from our sponsors. Now let's get back to A Little Bit Culty, shall we?
Celina, have you seen before and after pictures of presidents? How much they age and how much they gray?
Yeah.
I mean, how can you handle all those things and all those variables? And I just imagine it would be an impossible task to stay true to everything that you think and feel. And a feature of thriving in those atmospheres requires you to compromise and ignore. And I think that takes a toll on people.
Yeah, well, you know what? It was taking a toll on me for quite some time. And then I just did the math and said, look, honey, let me tell you what, it's not going to happen for you. You're never going to be a minister because you already told dude you don't trust him. Like that was the biggest red flag, right? They have tokenized you for the first year. They have completely isolated you in the second year. And we could get into that a little bit more. And then in September of 2017, I said, you know what? Gloves come off. I'm done. And not a lot of people have the capacity to just make that decision that I'm out, right? Because your livelihood is tied to it. Your safety might be tied to it. Your ability to do X, Y, and Z might be tied to you staying in that situation. And so in my doctoral studies right now, I'm looking at decision making and what allows you to make that decision to just leave. And if people could understand some of the psychological turmoil of surviving in those spaces, and whether it's a cult or politics or a relationship or a job, whatever the case may be, those things that hold you and like try to suffocate your values and your beliefs. Oh man, that's a tough decision to say, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I realize that we jumped ahead, and I know that we know your timeline, but just to be clear, you got appointed, you had that initial conversation, and then you were essentially sidelined and sort of, you call it like the pony show, like put out there as the token Black woman to certain events. Can you just tell us a little bit about that and those other red flags that you saw before you said you were gone?
Yeah, so 2015, we went through that, the meeting, I don't trust her, blah, blah, blah. So 2016, I call my year of like tokenism. So as I said, parliamentary secretary to the prime minister. That means if he goes left, I go right. If he goes south, I go north, right? And we know, look at the record, in 2016, he did a lot of international travel, meaning if you're doing all this international travel, then your parliamentary secretary is going to be doing domestic, right? It just makes sense. And traveling and talking and meeting people and presenting our platform were brand new. I did 3 events in 2016, 3 international events. The first was the state dinner at the White House with Obama, the outgoing Obama administration, in which I was not invited to dinner. I was only invited to meet the president on the South Lawn.
Do you know why? Because I read that and it made zero sense.
It made zero sense. And I was the only elected official that was not invited to dinner. I was the only elected official that was sitting at the back of the plane, on the prime minister's plane, which again, all of these things you should be like, just be grateful, just be grateful. And I'm talking about it now and I just want to break. Like, there's certain things that I don't talk about so that I don't like start
Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
releasing stuff. But I sat at the back of that plane just thinking, like, why are you putting yourself through this? Like, you don't need to see Obama that desperately that you're going to sit here with like the staffer and so the staffers are all on that side. The media is like all in the back and like the trough of like the food. And I'm sitting alone in this one chair as the only elected official and just thinking, why are they doing this to me? But you have to be grateful. So don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And I remember getting off the plane and trying just to like not cry. Because I'm like, what makes my colleagues any better than me? Because they're ministers? Like, I don't understand. You could have sworn me into Privy Council. Every other parliamentary secretary to the Prime Minister has been sworn into Privy Council. So I wasn't. It means that you have a higher level of security clearance so that you could be briefed on certain matters. And as parliamentary secretary to the Prime Minister, you would think that I'd be briefed, but I wasn't. So anyhow, I'm at this event, but I'm not allowed to go to dinner. And there were so many red flags there, like we don't have time on this episode for it. The second event that I was invited to go to was the opening of the African American Museum in Washington. The third event I was invited to was the inauguration of Akufo-Addo in Ghana in 2017. 3 events, all Black facing.
Yeah.
And not a single other international event. And at that point I said, I quit. I told you I didn't want to fill any gender or racial gaps in your government, and you have just set me up to be a token Black person, and not even like in a real sense, like to just go to the Black events that you didn't want to go to.
Had you been framed as difficult because of that, and maybe that was some of the reasons? Or I'm just giving my impression is that, like, if I'm Trudeau, I'd be like, well, I've got a great advocate here. I should put her in positions of responsibility and authority that are equivalent to her talents. And
I don't know.
Doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know, because I do know that at the beginning, as a parliamentary secretary, I wrote a report that used the evidence from that brain strategy. Like I put that on. That was the first thing I said. Let's get a national brain strategy, timelines, milestones. Like I wasn't being difficult. I am smart. So I put my stuff out. Like I was playing the game too, but not in a way that was inauthentic. It was real and it was honest. And so if honesty is being difficult, if being authentically yourself is, well, we know, like read the research on women who are authentic and honest. And, you say to men that they're, real drivers of change, but a woman's a fucking bitch. So
Absolutely.
And for a Black woman too, a Black woman who should just be grateful and shut her mouth.
Yeah.
Like, just, no, I'm not about that life.
Well, because you're not being obedient. The thing is, you're not being obedient. And I mean, I've never been in politics, but I can only imagine just from watching TV shows about it, that there's a lot of inauthenticity and there's a lot of ass kissing and there's a lot of schmoozing. And like, what's that show with Kevin Spacey?
House of Cards.
House of Cards. Like, there's just so much
yeah.
fucking bullshit.
Well, it rewards the strategic and inauthentic.
Yeah.
And you're not a career politician.
And could I have been strategic? Absolutely.
Well, you're not a career politician, so I don't think you relate to my impression is you don't relate to the government office like you need it.
Because you don't.
No. Well, people would always say, Trudeau's your boss. And I'd be like, Trudeau is not my boss. My boss are the people of Whitby who I told that I was going to be authentic. When they said, Celina, politics will change you, I said, trust me with your vote and trust me that it will not. You will get the same person that is knocking at your door. You'll get her coming back year after year. And I did that because I knew that I didn't get elected because only liberals voted for me. I got elected because a lot of people who were conservative, who were NDP, who were all other things, who never voted before said, you know what? I trust you. You're coming to my door. You seem authentic. You seem trustworthy. I'm going to use this thing, this check mark, this vote
as my endorsement of trust in you. And I was not about to lose all that for nobody, most importantly, myself.
Okay, so let's get to me, the egregious stuff. And again, I'm not political. I don't particularly care about being anti-Trudeau or anything like that, but I do think there's some stories and abuses that go on here that need to be shared with our audience because they do sound a little bit culty, dare I say. So walk us through when things, I guess, to the point where it broke. Like you're getting to a point where you don't feel aligned with it. Red flags are there. You've had enough. What's that point? And then what happens ensuing?
Yeah. So that is September 2017, where again, so 2016, I'm tokenized the whole year. 2017, I'm getting all this information from members of, in particular, Black communities that are saying, oh, the Prime Minister is meeting with us to discuss the International Decade for People of African Descent. The Prime Minister's team is meeting with us to discuss the budget. And I'm like, whoa, who? Where is this meeting happening? And how do I not know that this meeting is happening? Like you go through a whole year of having these consultations with community, and your only Black female member of parliament is not invited to a single meeting.
That is nuts.
And in fact, community members are told, do not tell Celina that this meeting is happening. And I'm like, this is just dumb at this point. But you know what? I'm not going to screw around with like communities or groups who need government help from getting that. So you all do your thing. And then on January 31st of 2018, so you'll have to skip forward. In January 31st of 2018, I get called to the front of Parliament, to the stairs, to like stand for a photo op. And I'm like, what is happening now? Because it has to be something good where you call me to be at the front, right? Prime Minister is announcing that he's acknowledging the International Decade of People of African Descent. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I left. I did not stand in the front row of that. And if I could go back now for your listeners to September of 2017, after all of that isolation, after all of that tokenism, I just recognized that this was not going to be for me. I don't care if I'm a one-term MP. I'm good with that. You cannot get rid of me for 4 years. So I'm going to make the rest of these 4 years real, real good for y'all. And I'm going to start calling things out. And I'm going to make sure that I stay authentically myself. So gloves came off. I mean, I did that viral video that people have seen with my braids in, just talking about body shaming, not just about Black women. So let's just be clear. It wasn't just a Black thing. It was just, I wanted to represent the people that I represented, including the people of Whitby, including people with often intersecting identities. So I did the video, I called things out, and I was dragged. Like 2018 for me was just, like my depression was at an all-time high or low. I don't know which one that makes sense, but
It was bad.
it was bad.
Yeah.
It was the worst because the more authentic you are in that space, the more you call things out, the more they gaslight, the more they isolate, the more they push you away or try to make it seem like it's your fault that these things are happening.
I just want to say that when you say gaslighting, what was your experience and when did you figure out it was gaslighting? What did you see?
Well, I think the biggest one for me was, again, so January 31st, we do this announcement. At the beginning of February, the budget comes out. First time ever in Canadian history that Black communities are mentioned in the federal budget, which should be a cause for celebration, right? And I look at it, I'm like, there is a budget line that adds up to about $50 million. And I'm like, if somebody were to take a suitcase of $50 million, trip and fall out of the front doors of Parliament, and all that money was lost, you would never notice it. It's not even a rounding error in the federal budget. Like there's nothing that could do to help mental health cases, to help, support communities with that little bit of money. So I started to call it out and say, oh, absolutely not. Like, who was consulted on this? What? And basically I was told, get on board, shut your mouth, get on board, and start to promote this thing as if it's a good thing. And I was told that by my caucus members, by people who I thought were allies and friends. It was disconcerting for me to just
and disheartening. And then there was a number of other issues where I was just like, where am I wrong here? Where am I wrong with this analysis? Tell me where I'm wrong for you all to be basically threatening me to get on board, or just letting me suffer through some of the pains that I went through that were public, like my clash with Maxime Bernier. The Liberal Party never stood on my side. They were never there for me. And so it was just constant fighting.
Well, that sounds like the quiet part is out loud now. Get on board or else.
Get on board or else. I was told, get on board or else. I was told, maybe you should try to be nicer to Jerry and Katie, which were the chief of staff to the prime minister. Be nicer to them and maybe you'll get some kind of get some kind of benefit. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm not, be nice. I don't talk to these people. Like, what? It's not my job to be nice to you. It's my job to represent the people of Whitby. Like, where did this get turned around that I need to do something more for you in order to be able to do something for the people that actually need my help as a member? What the? Am I crazy?
Yeah, but that was the thing. They're trying to make you. It sounds like it's even like a little bit more overt. Like you're the problem now.
Oh, I was definitely the problem.
They're trying to convince you that you're the problem.
Oh yeah.
What's interesting is you're the most authentic person because you haven't been in politics and you're not playing the schmooze game. You're not doing any of that. And then because you're now not nice enough, that gives them the reason to cut you out for them, for not a real reason. Yeah. But like in their mind, they're like, well, we're not. There's like, she can't.
Yeah, sorry. It's not that it's not nice.
It's not that you're not being nice. You're just not, you're not playing the game and you're not being obedient. You're not a sheep.
And I'm challenging. Like, so it's majority government.
Which nobody does.
Right.
Nobody does. Right. That's the culty shit. Nobody challenges the leader because then you're not going to
challenge
get your
the leader to say, I'm sorry, but you promised this is the last first past the post election, the last one. You said this a million times. It didn't happen. How does this not happen? We have a majority government. We have 180 something seats. And you're trying to tell me to spin that the Conservatives and the NDP didn't want it? Like, are you dumb, fam? That can't work for me. I can't say that.
Okay, tell the Americans what that means, what you just said. It was past the post.
Right. So we wanted to change the way that we voted, right? So it wasn't just the I vote for the person and they lead. So it changed it so it's proportional representation or whatever new system they wanted. I don't know, but it was supposed to be changed. And Justin Trudeau said a million times, at least, maybe 1,000,001, that he was going to change the way that we vote in Canada. But the way that we vote in Canada allows for the Liberals and the Conservatives to stay in power. So why would you change it?
So he promised.
And so when you do the math, when you're in power and you're like, oh, well, this seat is very comfy. Mm-hmm. And you're like, so do you want to change it now, boss? And it's like, yeah, maybe we won't change it because then I could stay in power a little bit longer. And I just felt that was real shady. Mm-hmm. Just so shady. And that was in 2016. Like it wasn't just about Celina that the red flags went off. Like, oh, she went to some Black events and now she's being pissed about it. No, there was so many other red flags that were like, we made policy promises that were just meh. Well, never mind that. Boiled water advisories. Boiled water advisories will end in Canada for Indigenous communities by 2021. Ask me if that is the real case. Let me just give you the answer. No, we still have boiled water advisories in Canada. Indigenous communities don't have access to clean water in their kitchen sink right now.
Shame.
It's equivalent to our Flint, Michigan.
We have Flint. Just nobody talks about the fact that we have a Flint in a number of different, I think there's 28 communities that still have Flint.
Since we're on this topic, I do think it's interesting. Anything else that we should know about Canada and lies or promised policies not being fulfilled on that we should know about that are brushed under the table because there aren't enough people like you calling it out?
Well, I think the big ones is when it comes to Indigenous communities and Indigenous sovereignty. And so we even, with the help of Jody Wilson-Raybould, and I hope we get a chance to talk about like the actual exit, but had a plan towards Indigenous sovereignty in Canada and their rights to self-determination. And yeah, no. That was just like a no. All the hard ones, like, you legalize marijuana in this country. And so I go to the minister who's responsible for that. I said, well, it's legalized. Now can we pardon the records of people who, most Indigenous and Black people who are arrested for like a dime bag of weed? And can we pardon those records? Well, no.
Really?
Excuse me, like, why not? Well, because they have other records and it just won't make a difference. Well, they have other records because of over surveillance by, who are you, Bill Blair? You were the chief of police of Toronto. Like, do you not understand the mechanics, the power that you have with the stroke of a pen to like change somebody's life, their family, their trajectory with water or with pardons or with any other thing that was policy wise? Like, just break your heart stuff.
Why is that so hard? Why is that such an inconvenience? What are the incentives to keep? I don't get that.
Not the incentive, it's lack of care. It's the lack of care. And it's interesting because, Canada has this great job of saying, and I'm not just dissing Canada, because I think that you need to hold yourself to account. If you're going to say, oh, look at those Americans over there doing that, you need to hold yourself to account too. And I think when I moved from parliamentary secretary to the prime minister to parliamentary secretary for international development, and we get these speeches that talk about how great Canada was. We were like the bastion of all moral goodness and greatness. And I would change the speech and say, no. Do you not remember that we have boiled water advisories? Do you not remember that we have Africville, where they burnt down a whole like spot where Black people live? They burned down their whole community. Do you not remember the Kamagato Maru, where they turned around a boat full of South Asian people because they did not want them here? Like, we have problems. It's just nobody wants to talk about it. And so when we say we need equity, it's like, oh, well, Canada's great. No, well, we have problems. And that problems have root causes.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that your experience allowed you to see the performative nature in general of the government? Like, did it open the lens, or did you see that before?
So I think if I were to look back, it was, I was duped. I really thought that this person who said, hashtag diversity is our strength, hashtag I'm a feminist, meant intersectional feminism. Like, hello. And it actually meant that we were going to look after the most vulnerable. So the most vulnerable person that would be affected by a pandemic or climate change or, downturns in economy. I thought that we were looking after those individuals. I spent a long time processing. How did you not see that? How did you not see that that was not real? And I just blaming myself and blaming myself and blaming myself. And then spending years after healing and then doing my PhD to like figure out what happened in my brain, and then reading these papers and saying, oh, no, honey, your brain wasn't broken. Your brain was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. Your body was telling you it was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. That system, and not the system, because people run the system. The people in power that love power will keep power and will make you feel like you're the crazy person who just can't see how good they are. We are so good.
Yeah, you were disrupting the optics of their goodness.
And I go one step beyond that, because this is a G7 country.
Right.
The prime minister is not the barista at the local coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to the baristas at the local coffee shop, but that is not your job. Your job is to lead a G7 country. And if you cannot be challenged to do better, because better is always possible, that was the other slogan that we had. If you can't do better is always possible, why are you there? And why are you saying better is always possible when somebody is challenging you to be better, is being gaslit and sidelined because, you're being too much. You're not being nice.
Yeah, the gaslighting of you're not being nice, that's such a huge red flag to me, because you could, like, taking the politics out of it, like just in any situation, you have a grievance, right? You have a grievance, you have a problem of something that needs to be fixed, and you're bringing it to somebody, and they're coming back to you and saying, how you're saying it isn't okay. And that's gaslighting, right?
Lord. Yeah, get on board and just
Yeah.
and not even how I'm saying it. Just please don't say it.
Yeah, but they're saying get on board, but what they're actually saying is you're calling us out for being basically virtue signaling. We haven't used that term yet, right? And then they're saying, yeah, well, you're not a team player, so you don't actually have the clout to tell us what to do. So just go to
And this is how we're using you.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is
all
your
the while. But you're not a team player. But if we have a major announcement to make and you're the only Black woman here, like you got to show up so you can take a picture, please. Thank you.
For more context on what brought us here, check out my memoir. It's called Scarred, the true story of how I escaped NXIVM, the cult that bound my life. I narrate the audio version, and it's also available on Amazon, Audible, and at most bookstores. And now, a brief message from our Little Bit Culty sponsors. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you're supporting this podcast.
break time's over, people. Let's get back to this episode of A Little Bit Culty. It's a good one.
Just curious, outside of those 3 events, what were you doing the rest of the time? Like, did they give you menial tasks to do? Were you like just sitting around twiddling your thumbs? Or did they keep you busy?
No.
What was it like?
So the member of parliament job is like a job in of itself, right? So you don't need anything extra. So handling cases, immigration, tax cases, all that other stuff. But then I was doing like the meetings. So I know more about nuclear, like just these regular meetings in Ottawa that would fill my schedule from like 7 to 11 o'clock at night with various stakeholders across the country. The challenge with having all those meetings with various stakeholders was that it just went nowhere. So if I'm meeting with them with the objective of this is part of our policy and I want you to meet with them so that you're able to do X with this information, sure. But you just having me meet for meet's sake so that the person can meet the parliamentary secretary to the prime minister and then not do anything with the prime minister with the information that you've given me. So we had a meeting in maybe about 3 or 4 meetings that year, and they didn't go anywhere. And then on top of that, so in the House of Commons, so look, I'm there, you're not sending me anywhere, cool, whatever. But then during question period, if there is a question for the prime minister, the parliamentary secretary to the prime minister should get up in the House and answer the question. I was told I was not allowed to speak in the House and not allowed to speak to any media.
Wow. And that's unheard of for a parliamentary secretary. Am I right?
Oh my, that would be unheard of for any member of parliament, period. Like, no, you cannot speak. I don't even know if I asked why at that point, because it was just so defeating. Like it was just like, okay, just fine. Just leave me alone now. If you don't want me.
Who's telling you this? Did he have, we in the cult world, we call them flying monkeys. Like, it's not Trudeau himself who's saying you're not allowed to speak.
Yes.
No, he sends, who did he send?
It's the staff, like my point person, what was his name? Mike something, who gets the directive from Katie or Jerry, whoever his chief of staff is. So, but at the same time, it's like the emperor who has no clothes on must feel a draft.
So I've heard you use the metaphor of the emperor who has no clothes. When did you start to get a sense of that analogy?
I think I saw it all along. It wasn't that it was hidden. And people would say, oh, Trudeau's surrounded by this inner circle and it's Katie and Jerry who are making the decisions as chiefs of staff. And it's not him. And I was like, I call bullshit, because if you don't have any clothes on, you have to feel a draft. Like something, it must catch on something somewhere and go, whoo, that feels a little tingly. And like, well, I don't have any underpants on, right? So it just didn't make any sense to me that he had no clue that these things were happening, but at the same time was like puppeteering everything else that was going on. It just didn't make any sense to me. And so while I really don't have anything against Trudeau as a person, but your inability to effectively lead because you just don't know what is happening around you, or you pretend not to know, or you act like you're so hidden from it that you don't have to have any liability or culpability or apologize for anything is absolute lunacy for me. That is just not a leader. And I could never follow someone who does not have the capacity, the empathy, the courage of conviction, or the courageous, empathetic courage to just say, I screwed that up. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. And there seems to be, and again, we're looking at this through the cult lens, where in all cults, there's the, obviously the main leader, and then there's like the inner circle. And then there's always, right? And then there's always like an us versus them, or an in-group or an out-group.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see that kind of division, like just separate from Trudeau for a second, where people were ostracized, sidelined, other than you? Like, this is a pattern. It's not just your experience.
It is a pattern. And I would say that at this point, I don't care about giving away caucus secrets, so I'm not going to give anything away that's too secretive. But when Leona Alice-Lev left caucus, she crossed the floor early in the mandate and went over to the Conservatives. And she was a member of parliament on the Liberal side. In caucus, I got up and said, is anybody going to talk about the fact that we had a member who crossed the floor? Silence. I actually got my mic turned off to just not talk, do not talk about that. And it was just, again, the flag went off, but it was like, why aren't we talking about something that, this is a big deal?
Yeah.
Isn't it a big deal? Isn't it a big deal? I'm looking at myself again, I'm crazy.
Don't we want to know why she left?
And
Don't we want to do an analysis so nobody else leaves?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you get better?
That's so weird.
How do you get better? And so when she was kind of ostracized and made sort of persona non grata, which I think she's still reeling from. Then we had another woman, Eva Nassef, talk about her being bullied at a committee, or it was something that, and even I have to admit that even I was like, is nobody else paying attention to this? So maybe I don't need to pay attention to it. I don't know. But her being bullied, and it was never talked about. How do you just dismiss whoever is not?
No, this is common with cult-like practices. People just leave and they're shunned.
And that's it. And so I remember in 2018, it may have been September, because we were doing our caucus retreat. And I said to Jerry, you know what? I'm not running again. And these last few years have been so terrible. And I feel as if you all did the math and figured you could win the next election without winning Whitby, and have totally just abandoned me in a number of different issues where you knew that my life was at stake. It's not just, I had a hard time. I have death threats. My kids have death threats. I'm being dragged in the media, and you don't stand up once, not one time. It's shame on you. It's shame on you.
What a betrayal.
The moment you left.
Yeah, what was that like?
And then the ramifications, and then your meetings with Trudeau and how those went.
So it was meetings with Trudeau, decision to leave, meetings with Trudeau, and then ramification.
Yeah. And then what was the manipulation, psychological process of trying to leave?
I made the decision to leave, and I was going to just do it quietly. Everybody said, you have to tell the prime minister that you're not running again. You have to tell him. I said, fine, fuck it, I'll tell him. I make a call. I call him. He calls me back at 9:00 the evening, and he's like, I just got to tell you, I'm not running again. Oh, Celina, he started saying something, some bullshit. I said, I hope you could understand, maybe not today or tomorrow, but at some point, understand the ramifications of this job on me, my mental health, my children, my finances, you name it. It was just a fiasco. Oh, well, Celina, I've had challenges too. I've had death threats. And it's dude, you have RCMP security detail. Let me tell you this again. I hope that you could understand, not today, not tomorrow, but at some point, the ramifications of this job. I said it twice. He loses his mind. Oh, you should be so grateful to me. I came and I saw you during the by-election, and you should be so grateful that I was this and I did this for you and I did that for you. And I was like, fuck you, motherfucker. Who the hell are you speaking to?
You said that to him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I said, motherfucker, who the fuck do you think that you are speaking to? I said, let me tell you something. I I just remember during that whole conversation, just like in my head going, do not say his name and do not say prime minister. You could call him anything else. I was so angry. And it was like the 4 years of just oppression just got released in that moment. And even that, though, because, you blow up, you have a thing. I went back to him like about a week or two later after a caucus meeting to say, okay, look, like we're better than this. Like we're adults here. Let's wow. The venom that came from him. It was the only time in politics. And I had death threats. The person was arrested en route to Ottawa with a weapon. I've had death threats. I've had a panic button. I've never felt more scared than in that moment where he just glared down at me like, I could crush you, you little bug.
Wow.
And then it clicked in. Holy crap, this man has power.
Yeah.
And he can make my life really, really difficult. And it had never dawned on me before, like what situation I was in. And so I said, okay, fine, I'm going to leave, whatever. And can I jump ahead to SNC-Lavalin when it came public? Yeah. So nobody would have known about this story. Nobody would have known those two, the phone call or the meeting, the exchange that we had after. But then SNC-Lavalin happens. And for your listeners, the beginning of 2019, March of 2019, it comes out that the prime minister is pressuring and bullying Jody Wilson-Raybould, who's the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, to basically do something illegal and squash some evidence or some allegations against SNC-Lavalin, a big firm here in Canada, or a global firm, but really just to do something that is wrong with this organization. And so she comes out and says, like, I've been pressured, I've been bullied to do this. And it's like, as a lawyer, I cannot do this. I cannot just squash these allegations. And the prime minister is like, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't do whatever. And so anyhow, comes out with this apology to Canadians and says, if Jody had a problem with this, she could have just come to my office. I have this open and welcoming space that is so nice for everybody. And I'm watching going, that's not true. And so I'm holding my phone. I'm watching this thing on my computer because I'm at home and my hands are shaking. And I start to type, that's not true. And on Twitter, because I want it public. And I type, that's not true. Do you remember the last 2 times I came to see you? And I am shaking and I'm going, oh my God, if I press send, I will never work another day in Canada again. And I'm like, I'm remembering the look that he gave me. I'm remembering like this guy has power. I will be literally blacklisted. But we just come out of a Me Too movement where you say, believe her, believe women who have been bullied, believe women who have been assaulted, believe women who've been harassed. And I found it was so interesting that you could believe her when it was convenient and leave her when it was not. And I clicked send and I put my phone down and I just waited for like the volcano to erupt. And within like 30 seconds, my husband, he calls and he's like, what the fuck? Babe, what did you do? What did you do? Like everybody at my work is talking about it. What happened? I'm like,
Just a tweet.
So I tweeted, what did you do? And even like in that moment of sheer panic, it was about doing the right thing. I wanted to just say, this guy is not the nice, oh, come see me. It's so sweet. I'm so good. And I quoted that part where he said that. And it may have been the most insignificant part of his speech, but it set the context that this guy was so just this great leader who had this open door policy. That was such bullshit. Leona, Eva, Jody, myself, and probably others that I just have not counted. Just not nice.
Yeah, there's a paper trail.
There's a body count.
Yeah, body count.
What's it been like for you watching him step down?
I don't want ill of anybody, right? Like,
Right.
so it wasn't good. And I just remember, like, so even after all that happened in August of 2020, 19. So we had an opportunity to have like a come to Jesus moment together. And it wasn't really a come to Jesus for me. It was just like, look, I got duped. I know I got duped, but you're better than this. Stop being the best of three evils and start actually leading in a time, like this was before the pandemic, leading in a time where people are going to need you to lead. Like, stop acting like you're so dumb. So it was like, like what as a parent, you like try to tell your kid, just do better, and they keep fucking up. And you're just like, okay, eventually they'll grow out of it. I was disappointed. I was disappointed that that's how it ended for him. I was disappointed that he could have done better because it's not about me. It's about people. I understand the power and the privilege that I have. It was about people who are vulnerable, who are going to suffer through a lot of things because you don't have the capacity to lead when you have the immense privilege to be the prime minister of a G7 country. And you're going to take that and just let your ego play with it.
Do you think he cares and has the capacity to care and has the values that the
No.
liberals protest?
He may have the values, but he doesn't have the self-awareness or the emotional intelligence to actualize it. So that's problematic. So if you look at, Daniel Goleman's work on emotional intelligence, that's self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, social skill, and motivation. And so what are you motivated by? If you're motivated by your own ego, then you're lacking a critical component of emotional intelligence. If you don't have the empathy or the empathetic courage to make sure that pardons are given to people who have had a dime bag of weed, or make sure that we don't have boiled water advisories because that that's killing families. If you don't have the capacity to do that, you're missing a critical component of emotional intelligence. And hell, if you don't have the self-awareness enough to know that you're wearing no fucking clothes, then why are you there? Brother, step down.
So you've been through a lot. What advice do you have to those inside political parties or any institutions who might feel trapped in a toxic system for speaking out?
You know what? And I say this again, knowing that I didn't work from October 2019 to October 20. I could not find a job. I could not. My resume is dope. Like, it actually really is pretty good. But I couldn't find a job. So I say protect yourself, number one, right? I know I could call out something because I can fandangle a few things and still try to make a living. But if you have ever read Clayton Christensen's essay, How Will You Measure Your Life? It has been like my godsend after leaving. And just saying that if it's easier to hold on to your values and your principles 100% of the time than it is to hold them 98% of the time. If you give into this marginal cost analysis, just this once, I'm not going to send that tweet because it's going to backlash. I mean, this once I'm going to cheat. Just this once I'm going to lie. Just this once I'm not going to say anything. You regret where you end up. Hold on to your values and your principles. Hold them firm. Stick to those. Because I knew I could not leave Jody hanging. Me and Jody are not friends, but I knew I could not leave her. I couldn't do that. It went against everything that I stood for. So stand with that. Know yourself. Feel what your gut feels. You have neurons in your gut for a reason. You have neurons in your heart for a reason. When that alignment is off and you feel like it's off, you might have to go into survival mode. Forgive yourself for that. And you might have to do things to adjust, to just survive being there. But when you have the opportunity to call it out on the way out, be a little bit culty and call it out.
Good advice.
That's great. I'm sorry, what was the woman's name that wrote that?
Oh, no, it's Clayton Christensen. It's his book. He died a couple of years ago. Great, great professor. It's a short essay. It's like 10 pages. It's a great essay, though.
So obviously you've been doing a lot of healing and a lot of therapy, and you've written this amazing memoir, Can You Hear Me Now? What do you hope that readers will take away from it, and anything else we didn't cover you can throw in there?
Yeah, you know what? The last paragraph of the acknowledgments, leadership does not require a title, and your title does not require you to do anything. Like, the power has always belonged to the people. And it's time for the people to recognize their power to make change. And it's not enough to hear my voice. We need to hear everybody's voice in these moments. And I think right now we have an opportunity to turn this division into dialogue, to turn this what is chaos into compassion. And we cannot lose our collective humanity in all of this. And so I may have challenges with Justin as a leader. I don't have a challenge with him as a person. And so
Well put,
we cannot forget our collective humanity. That is what will save us. That has been what has saved us, and it will continue to save us and allow us to flourish here and to exchange and have these conversations, whether our political stripes are A, B, or C, it doesn't matter. But let's continue to remember how powerful we are as human beings. And the power that we have is not in the self, not in the ego, but it's in our collective humanity. And that's what we need to remember.
Love it.
It's so important. I didn't think I was going to cry in this one, but here I tend to cry in a lot of our episodes. You got me.
Celina. You got her.
Well, I was having this recognition of how cool it is. Like, it is such a divided time. And, you know, even in America and Canada, which was never the case before. And left, right, black, white, like, fuck, let's talk. You know, it's so important.
Let's dialogue, not debate.
Yeah.
Dialogue. Let's just, it's okay to disagree. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay for me to push you to be better. It's fine.
Totally. Especially, and that's one of the reasons why we haven't gotten into the cultiness of any particular political party. And especially now, those options are obvious, I think, where people can be narcissists and extreme and all that stuff. But because it is such a divided time, and when you start to label things, it pushes away the other group. The othering continues. And we want a dialogue. We want a dialogue with people who've had these experiences in all factions, in all extremes. So
yeah. And it pushes away the possibility of healing, right?
I'm sorry you went through that. That's really hard.
It is. But I think for me, like, you know, I read a lot. So there's this book called Perennial Philosophy by Aldous Huxley. And in the book, he talks about the fact that in the preface, which I love reading the prefaces and acknowledgments of books because there's little juicy bits in there. He says that you would never know that water is hydrogen and oxygen until you put it under extreme pressure. And so when you put a human being under extreme pressure, that's when their divinity comes out. And so I believe that, and I've used it in the book, that politics was the most painfully beautiful experience I've had because it allowed for that pressure to break me apart. And then I could put the pieces back together the way I want. And I'm not taking the struggle and the fight and I'm taking the joy and the peace and the humanity and the stuff that I love. And I'm carrying that with me forward as opposed to what I think I should be carrying forward. So
that's really smart.
It was a beautiful experience.
I love that.
Yeah. I do feel the same way about our culty shit show.
And here you are, right? You're talking about it. You're like turning that pain into purpose and that messy into like a message for people. So
also the through line of all our conversations, to your point, has that humanitarian feel to it because we've all been through it.
All of us.
And it's a thread that we can all kind of relate and come together on it.
Most people's families are culty.
Yeah. Oh, don't even.
Oh, yeah.
We'll send
you I have a memoir, it's like my cult story, but we're working on a book right now that's more of a resource and looking at how these dynamics are everywhere. And we'll probably, since we're not done yet, reference this episode and politics and whatnot. But we look at culty shit everywhere. Families, relationships, yoga studios.
Yeah. Well, I love that you also, too, you're not angry at Trudeau. I think that shows the level of maturity of how you've come out of it. Well, you're not.
May have been.
I'll have a beer with the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I wouldn't have a beer with our cult leader.
Well, he's in jail, so you can't. But I would. I would. I'd eat some pizza with him through the glass.
I would not.
Through the bars.
Yeah.
I won't go back.
No.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Celina, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for
It was really
having
wonderful.
me.
It's not 2015.
Because you know what?
2025.
It's 2025.
Because it's 2025, Celina.
It's 2025. God.
I think that should be the title of this episode. Because it's 2025.
2025.
Can we call it that?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Definitely, that would be a nice play because it's
Yeah.
2020. With
And
the
the people-
exclamation point at the end.
Yes. If you like the show, please consider supporting us by giving us a rating, a review, and subscribe on iTunes. Cults are commonplace now, and we're looking at them all, and every little bit helps. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Thank you, Celina, for sharing your story, and thank you for putting language to what you went through. It's an important story to tell.
Yeah, we appreciate you pulling back the curtain for us. Even though it's no secret that politics, on all sides, can be a shit show, a lot of this stuff would still stay under the radar if it wasn't for insiders like you speaking out. You're an incredible example of how to stay true to your principles and not let the establishment silence you. Also, just a friendly reminder, if you feel the burning impulse to send us a DM about how perhaps other political figures might also be narcissistic, save yourself the time. We know that's not what this episode is about, and we hope that you understand that and can continue to listen with an open mind and critical thinking.
To learn more about Celina, pick up a copy of her memoir, Can You Hear Me Now? We'll also drop her links in the show notes. Thanks for listening, everyone, and see you next time.
Sinking down to the depths of the ocean. I'm hanging on to the weight of my love. If I let go of it all, I could leave, but I know I won't.
A Little Bit Culty is a Trace 120 production, executive produced by Sarah Edmondson and Anthony Nippy Ames, in collaboration with Amphibian Media. Our co-creator is Jess Temple-Tardy, audio engineering by Red Cayman Studios, and our writing and research is done by Emma Deal and Kristen Reeder. Our theme song, Cultivated, is by the artists John Bryant and Nigel Aslin.
Hi, I'm Chris Gethard, and I'm very excited to tell you about Beautiful Anonymous, a podcast where I talk to random people on the phone. I tweet out a phone number, thousands of people try to call, I talk to one of them, they stay anonymous, I can't hang up, that's all the rules. I never know what's going to happen. We get serious ones. I've talked with meth dealers on their way to prison. I've talked to people who survived mass shootings. Crazy funny ones. I talked to a guy with a goose laugh, somebody who dresses up as a pirate on the weekends. I never know what's going to happen. It's a great show. Subscribe today, Beautiful Anonymous.